good English. Sounded like a broken German English or something like that. Anyway, there's a copy of their menu. They have real good pizzas, pita pockets, or calzones, and other type food. But boy, their calzones that we had were really good. 2 big pockets of it. Pat ate all of his, but I saved mine and I had it later instead of having supper. Anyway, we went on that day. We left Lake City and rode on north, trying to get out of the rain. We thought, well, surely if we go to Gunnison, out in the desert, we won't have any rain, and we didn't at Gunnison. But we rode on around from Gunnison, took Highway 50 to the east back towards Salida for 10 or 15 miles, and then we took Colorado Highway 114, which cuts back into Sagay and to Del Norte and back to South Fork and Wolf Creek Pass. I thought anyway, surely we'd get out of the rain going that way, and we did some, but then when we started up 114 we ran back into the rain, and this was one crooked road, and just steadily climbing, but a lot of rocks had fallen off the cliffs and were on the road. As we come to the corners, 30-mile-an-hour corners and stuff, we had to just sort of pick our way between the rocks and stuff, hopefully not hit anything or fall down or get hurt. Anyway, rode that road on up over a 10,135 foot pass, Alecito or something like that, and on down to Sagay. But on top of the mountain there at the Alecito Pass, it was 45 degrees, windy and drizzling rain, and we were just shaking in our wet clothing. And we had our rain suits on, but we were cold and miserable. Didn't think we'd ever be warm again, but we got back down in the lower elevations at Sagay and gassed up, and it had warmed up to 50 or so, 55 maybe, and we headed south on 285 and then cut back on Colorado Road 112 to Del Norte, and we could see some clearing in the mountains, in the clouds over the mountains to the west, like where we were headed. And sure enough, it cleared off pretty nice at South Fork. We went back over Wolf Creek Pass with no rain, no wetness on the highways or anything, and watched the sunset east of Pagosa Springs. By the time we got back up to Bayfield and headed north, it was dark, and we were going slow, watching for deer. Made it back to our campsite about 9:30, still wet and cold and miserable. We had driven 481 miles that day in the rain and over the mountain passes, and the road construction, everything doesn't seem possible, but we covered a lot of ground in a long day. Anyway, we got our clothes off and got some dry clothes on and got into bed and warmed up and slept pretty good that night. A little cool, but it was good to be out of the wet clothes. This picture is the next morning. We decided to head on up to Ouray, Durango, Silverton, Ouray, and you can see the clouds are looking dark up in front of us, so we decided today to put our rain suits on way before we got wet. And so we stopped here at this roadside pull-off and put our rain suits on. It's a good thing we did, because 5 or 10 miles up the road we hit the rain, and there was hail on the roadway. We didn't get hailed on, but we hit the rain, and the pavement was covered with about an inch of hailstones. Luckily, there's been enough car traffic through there that we had ruts of just wet pavement to drive through, but every once in a while we had to cross the slush from the hailstones. A little bit hairy there for a little while. As soon as we got up over Coalbank Pass, the Coalbank Pass, and the hail on the road and the water and the cold and rain and stuff, and just as we passed over the pass, on the north side there was just water. There was no hail, so we continued on down cautiously and then eventually rode out of the rain. By the time we got up to Molas Pass, it had quit raining and the pavement was dry, so we just kept on going on down to Silverton from Molas Pass, and sun was shining there. We stopped at the Handlebars Mustache restaurant behind the storefront, and had a good buffalo burger apiece there. And then we noticed there's a lot of four-wheelers and side-by-sides and razors and things like that in town, parked all over the place. And so we asked one of the waiters there, I did, and he said they were having a special trial weekend of allowing four-wheelers and ATVs to be in town, driving the streets and stuff like that, and they were going to see how it went. So I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the four-wheelers and stuff could come through town. Anyway, after eating lunch there at Silverton, we rode on over to Ouray and went to the hot mineral waters swimming area. Paid our $12 and went in and swam about 30 minutes, or sat about 30 minutes in the 105-degree pool. A little bit of time in the cooling off pool, and then we're back on the road by 4 o'clock. And we came on back to Silverton and didn't stop at Silverton, went on back to Durango, and then went straight on back to our campsite, and got back there and stopped at the Mexican food place over across the lake, at the very first one we came to, and the restaurant there, and it had really good Mexican food, but no picante sauce or salsa. So anyway, we went on back to camp, and here you see me with my towel on top of my tent drying out, and the air mattress is sticking out of the tent. We aired them up for the night, and then here's another view of the camp looking towards the lake. The restaurant we went to was across right behind Pat there, on the other side of the lake, and we're letting everything dry out and such. They had had some rain that afternoon before we got there. Anyway, the next morning, Saturday morning, we headed out pretty early. I think it was about 8 o'clock or so when we left camp and headed over to Pagosa Springs, gassed up, and then went on to Chama on Highway 84, continuing on 84 and 64 south about 15 miles, and then took 64 to the east towards Taos. And it's a real scenic, curvy road, especially when you start going up over this ridge that we're on right now. It's about 10,500 feet, and quite a lot of overlooks to pull off safely, and campsites, not campsites, but roadside parks and stuff, with picnic tables and stuff. This was just a pull off here, looking back to the west and the Rocky Mountains over there in the northern part of New Mexico. Probably 25-30 miles away, just roughly guessing. And then we went on down to the east to Tres Pedras, and then on over to Taos. Ate lunch at Taos, talked to a guy and his 12-year-old son from Fort Worth on a Harley, and they had come up, I think Thursday morning, Friday morning or something, to Taos, and said it was about 68 degrees when they passed through Amarillo the day before. So it'd be nice if we have it that cool, if we'd had it that cool coming in, but we didn't. So, but it was a little bit more moderate than 112. So there's another view looking south from the same location. And then that afternoon we got to Las Vegas, stopped at Walmart to get some oil, and we went on down to Lowe's to get some chili powder, a couple of pounds of that for Pat. We decided to keep just gas up and keep rolling while it was so cool. It was about 70 degrees, threatening to rain there in Las Vegas, so we did get rained on a little bit as we got on the interstate and headed down 84 and Interstate 40 to Santa Rosa, but there was no rain there, and it was getting about 85 degrees there. Stopped in Santa Rosa, took a little break, talked to a guy on a white gull wing that had been on a long 10,000 mile trip after he had retired, bought the white gull wing used, and had gone pretty much, sounded like pretty much all over the United States, up into Canada some, had already put about 10,000 miles, and he was headed home through Dallas to Houston, and had a long talk with him. Couldn't hardly get away from him. So anyway, we made it on to Fort Sumner, Clovis, finally stopped in Muleshoe and ate, and by that time we were tuckered out, and so we decided to get a motel room there in the Heritage House Inn, and I wanted to get up pretty early the next morning to get on the road while it was still cool and get home by a little after lunch before it got too hot. But when we woke up, it was raining, so I just crawled back in bed, slept till about 7:30, and got up, and we rolled out of Muleshoe after gassing up about 9:15. Made it to Lubbock pretty quickly and on down to Post, and we stopped there at this overlook at the Caprock, edge of the Caprock, looking down at the town of Post, and took our rain gear off, took a little break, and enjoyed the view, and then headed on down off the Caprock to Post and Snyder, detoured there at Roscoe on Interstate 20, which is a little unique deal, and made it on to Sweetwater and to Merkel for lunch and got gas. Ate at the Dairy Queen there in Merkel, and then we still had about 400 miles to go, so we got on the road pretty quickly. Probably about 1 o'clock we got back on the road. It was already up to upper 90s, about 95, 97. Anyway, we went on to this is another view of the Caprock looking down at Post, and then we went on to Comanche, stopped there at the Sonic, got some ice cream and water, and then headed on home. The temperature had gotten up to 100 already, and teeter-tottering around 100, the upper 90s or so. Made it on home about 5 o'clock. We rode about 436 miles that day, and about 2,800 miles total for the 7 days of travel. So we had a real good time. Hope to do it again someday. Be nice if some more people could go and enjoy it with us, sort of spread the whining around. But we had a good time, and a safe trip, no problems. Couldn't ask for a better trip.